G'day listeners and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Australia podcast, powered by Australian Property Scout Buyers Agency. I'm your host, Sammy Gordon, and today, guys, you have asked and we are delivering. Now, we know that you guys love your investor stories. We ran a poll on it a few weeks ago, and we know that you guys have a lot of love for this thing. It came out on top that investor stories are what you guys want to see more of. Now, as you would know, being a regular listener, that we have committed to providing as many investor stories as we can get into your earbuds or into your car as regularly as possible. Hence today's episode. But firstly, guys, speaking of investor stories as well, the number one ep that we've ever had on the Scouting Australia podcast is Big Morgan Holmes with her episode in how Morgan created $1 million in net equity by 26 years old. Now, her story is very, very inspiring. And if you're coming along to the Australian Property Scout Summit on April the 13th, on Saturday, in the Gold Coast, we're going to be doing a live Where Are They Now with Morgan. We're going to run through where her portfolio is at right now, and we're going to be able to do it. You guys are going to be able to do a Q&A. So all the burning questions you might have for Morgs and what she did with the portfolio and what she's doing now and how she did it, all the rest of it, you guys are going to get the opportunity live in audience to be able to ask Morgs any question that you want. But that is for in around about a month's time, guys, or actually it might even be a little bit longer. Maybe it's 5-6 weeks, whatever it is from right now of when you're listening to it. But today we're going to be diving into an episode that I'm very excited about. I've got a good mate in the studio with me today. He is actually a fellow strategist here at Australian Property Scout as well, recently inducted, we will say. Mr. Big Paulie Carpiers with a great story, mate, I might add, the firefighter that's built a 4-property portfolio. Mr. Paul Carpiers, mate, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you for the lovely, kind words and introduction up here. I feel very honoured to be up at the Gold Coast with you.
Mate, to say kind, it's an apt description of yourself I'll throw in there, because when you were a client, obviously you've built this portfolio as a client of Australian Property Scout and working together. And, mate, everyone always says, like, how lovely Paul is and all the rest of it, mate. Everyone loves you. You came on initially as a client success manager as a bit of part-time. Obviously, with the Fireys, it's a very open schedule that you're able to do from that perspective. You got your 2-3 days on, and then you got your 5 days off. So you came on it, and it's one of those funny things, man. You're such a nice bloke. Everyone bloody loves you. So it's amazing having you in the team and in the studio to talk about your journey today, man.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And as I said to you guys at the beginning, I just love helping people and talking to people. And I think that's why you brought me on potentially.
It's a great fit, mate. It's a great fit.
No, thank you very much. I'm very honoured.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure having you here. Now, before we dive into your whole journey, mate, what I like to do is give us a bit of a recap of the existing portfolio, of the current portfolio. Where are you at right now? Mate, you know the way I like to do this, like to be direct. Let's jump into it. But, mate, give me a rundown before we jump into the whole story. We go back to the grassroots, why you got into property, where you're at now, and the whole journey that took us there. Man, just give us a current snapshot of where the portfolio is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So 4 properties total value is 1.925 mil. Total purchase price 1.325 mil. So
nice.
Sitting on 600,000 equity uplift at the
beautiful,
moment. So
beautiful. Since when? When did you start?
So that would be mid-21, 2021.
Okay, so we're talking sub 3 years. You're up 600 grand in equity boost in a sub 3 year window. That's good, man.
Very satisfactory.
That's nice, mate. That's more than 200 grand a year if we're talking annualized, because it's been less than the 3 years. That's good, man.
Yeah, no,
too many people will be sneezing at that.
No, not at all. It's a very fine achievement, I must say. And
that's good, man.
Yields are good as well. So overall sitting at 7.3%. So
beautiful.
Very comfortable,
very nice,
considering these high interest rates that I've had to absorb over the last 18 or so months. So
that's it, man. Yeah. That's it. It's been an interesting journey. I remember from the very first property that we did together, which obviously was in the middle of COVID, cross borders, cross states, and all the rest of sort of thing. Man, it's a cool story, and I love your just ability to kind of keep pushing on and just have that really positive mindset when you're building the portfolio. And some of these properties have done exceptionally well. They've all done well. Some of them you've only picked up in the last 12 months. But then some of them you bought right at the very start have seen exponential growth. But man, the kind of that positive mindset, nothing really like swaying you or pushing you off course too much, has been really inspiring to see, man. So I'm really excited to dive into this, mate, and get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kick it off.
Man, take me back to like the very start. You're an import, right? Like you're not Aussie born.
I'm Aussie born.
Oh, you're Aussie born?
But my parents are not Aussie born.
Migrated from Poland?
Poland.
Yep.
So we're talking 1980s. So
okay.
Poland went through a solidarity movement back then, a lot of upheaval. So this is all during like the communist times, post World War II.
Yep.
So life was difficult for them.
Yep.
They were looking for an escape. So they didn't know each other at that stage, my parents. So
Yeah, right.
Dad went through Germany to get out. Mum went through Austria, applied for refugee status.
Yep.
Came into Australia probably 81, 82 respectively.
Yeah, right.
And then did the whole detention centres. And then met each other, got married a year later.
In the detention centre?
Yeah.
No way.
They met each other in
Really?
the detention centre. I think they were maybe a few months apart when
Okay.
they were originally placed in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, they went off on their merry way outside of Sydney, got placed into a home somewhere and then started working, developing a career and a life for themselves. And I think within 12 months, they were already married, having myself.
No way. There we go. They wanted to get Paulie out real quick. They knew you were going to be a good impact on the world, mate. How good.
Yeah,
That's
that was
good.
terrific. Like,
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so why property, right? Because migrants coming in at that time. I know where you grew up because I used to travel a lot in and around Campbelltown when I used to head back from Sydney back to home where I live down south. And mate, working class sort of area, even of Campbelltown, definitely a working class sort of spot within that as well. Man, talk me through property. How did you go from essentially you lived in a suburb that was broadly seen as housing commission and very close to a lot of housing commission and social housing as well. But yet you came out with a very, very strong work ethic, right? And a really that really positive attitude. Talk me through the early days. What did your parents do for work? What pushed you into property? Were they into property? Give us a bit about this. Is actually stuff I genuinely don't know about your background as well, man.
Well, I mean, the reason it all sort of started and moving out to Campbelltown to begin with is mum is from the countryside over in Poland. So she wanted something rural, something country in Sydney. Campbelltown was this open fields, green fields pocket.
Yeah, right.
So she dragged my dad out that way and said, you know what, let's start a life out here.
Okay.
It's not so different to Poland.
Yep.
So that's where it all began for themselves. Dad was a bricklayer.
There we go, bricky.
So
why did you go down the bricky route?
Oh, look, he took me down there.
Yeah.
So from age 14, he was bringing me out there every single weekend, any opportunity during holidays.
Yeah.
school
Lay a couple of
holidays.
extra bricks a day, get the extra comms.
40, 50 degree days, 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. I just was scratching my head going, is this normal? Is this what normal people do when they work?
Mate, you know what's making me laugh? So you obviously know Big Jakey McGregor from the last potty.
Absolutely.
The last investor story that we did. You boy, I was exactly the same. I was on the farm working for free, doing bloody 12-hour days on the farm on the weekends and stuff as a kid growing up, right? And it's funny. I believe I have a very strong work ethic. I know you do as well, and Jakey does too. It's funny, like the parents sticking you into that scenario, and that's kind of the byproduct at the same time. You know, like that's funny, man. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, like Dad was very much cost effective. So it was just him.
Yeah, child labour is one way to put it. Cost effective is another.
That's right. It was just him and his other partner, and then once we sort of got to a respectable age where we could start laying bricks and hauling bricks, mixing mud, anything like that. 14, 15, bang, off you go.
There we go.
So I was the first.
Young in Poland.
I was the first. And then my brothers slowly followed a few years afterwards.
So you got 2 brothers?
So I'm the eldest, and then I've got a younger sister and then younger twin brothers.
Yeah, right.
So one of 4 in our family.
Oh, mate, the old boy would have been loving it. He's got twin bloody boys jumping on. It's double child labour. Like, how good?
Oh, exactly right.
So much more productivity.
He set himself up
and he's
well.
only got to train him once because both are learning at the same time. How
that's
good?
it. Trained me up first, and I trained them through down the track. So
mate, he's got a system.
Yeah.
Needs some more kids.
Felt bad for my mum, stay-at-home mum with 4 kids under the age of 3
What do you
and a
mean,
half years.
Mate, she was she was staying home, but the kids were out on the job site, mate. It was all good.
Well, when we got to a certain age, yeah, absolutely. But those younger years, like Dad was out there just flogging himself every single day, 6 days a week,
I get you.
late night. So
that's where the work ethic comes from that?
Yeah. So I went sort of started that at that age, sort of 14, 15. And then I just remember a lot with him sort of saying, are you enjoying this? And I said, no, not at all. Not even on my best day. And then, he goes, well, you know what the alternative is for you, right? So, go study hard, go to university. You can work in a nice air-conditioned office. And I thought, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. What does that involve? But, that still took me another 3 years before I sort of got to that stage.
Yep. So how old was that conversation with your old boy about either being a brickie or heading to uni?
It would have been around about sort of 15, 16.
Okay.
So I would probably say I've been doing it with him for about a year at that point, just weekends, holidays. I mean, I did work experience for a week or two when I was in grade 10, and he just goes, opportunity here. Yeah, you're coming with me.
I was the same with my family, bro, on the farm.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
funny.
It was intense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good though. Like, it was good to experience what it's actually like to go out there. And
I think the thing is too, man, when you grow up in that style of family, working hard is just a way of life. It's life. It's not a way of life. It literally is living. Like you just work hard. You know, with us I remember with us on the farm, man, it's 7 days a week. A farm 7 days a week. You know what I mean? You're always on, and it doesn't. People aren't rocking up at a certain time. You're literally working on a farm. There's always shit to do. And yeah, man, like I look at it a lot of the time I see these, especially the tradies, they'll always take their kids wherever they can to kind of get on the job site and get on the tools and stuff. But it's cool, man. It's good. But what I love as well, and I know even Jakey's dad was the same thing. So you either got to go to a trade or you got to go to uni. It sounds like it's the same thing with the old boy. You know, do you like this? Do you want to go do the trade or you want to go to uni? My parents were exactly the same as well. So I think it's funny, man, like while the work ethic is there, it kind of seems like the parents coming from that side push the kids towards, well, you got to do something significant with your life. What are you going to do? You got to do something, one or the other, not just let them kind of fall to the wayside, you know. So I think that's cool, man. It's a kind of a really cool sort of backstory on that front as well.
Well, it put a lot of like life into perspective for me. You know, what do I really want to do at that age?
Yeah.
Do I want to knuckle down and study and get towards uni? I mean, Mum was very much like, you know, the eldest child. No one's ever been to university.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be our shining light. You're the first one. You know, you obviously don't want to be a bricklayer like your old man. So fair enough.
How's the old boy's body now?
We'll get into that shortly. So
all right. Yeah. Well, he's holding a few things back. Righto, mate. You just run it, bro. I'll just sit here. It's all good. All right, we'll run through that in a bit. And so your mum was a stay-at-home mum as well. She looked after the 4 kids and bred you guys up, right?
Primarily stay-at-home mum. She had the odd job here and there. As we sort of got older, she would then sort of tend to look after my cousins as well. So do a bit of nannying, I suppose you'd say. So there was like 6 of us in a household going through primary school, high school. She was, you know, looking after us, feeding us, driving us around sports on weekends. So
that's cool, man. So then what made you the decision? So you obviously decided to go to uni. You went down that route and you went to university. Talk me through uni and kind of, I guess, what you did there, what you learned. Were you smart at school?
Look, I wasn't the smartest kid to begin with, but I think there was a turning point when I was with my old man around that sort of grade 10 mark, and I knew that, all right, well, I don't want to be a tradie. I know that's 100% certain. So I need to knuckle down. This whole thing about HSC and study hard to get into university, I thought, I've got 2 years here. I need to change my attitude, my tone, just really put in. So I got into grade 11 and just knuckled down. So, yeah, funnily enough, my mates all laugh at me, but I sort of picked up 3-unit mathematics back then. So I did not really enjoy mathematics.
Maths. Yeah. You did maths at uni?
Well, this was in high school first.
Oh, this is in high school.
This is building up to get into uni.
Right.
So
Unit
that's
3.
Yeah,
I dropped out in year 10, so I don't even know what the hell that is. Sorry, man.
It's sort of like you got your
advanced, right? Must be
level.
Advanced. Okay,
more or less.
Okay.
So I knuckled down and did actually really well, and I actually enjoyed it. So
you enjoy maths?
I know. And a lot of people look at me and go, "Who enjoys numbers?" But I'm that guy.
You're good mates with Lukey, aren't you? Big Lukey Cheeson.
Yes. We work alongside quite closely together.
Does not surprise me, Mr. Mathematician and property economist. All right, mate. So you've wrapped up school. You've done all right. Have you gone to uni?
Exactly. So I actually came out pretty good. So then I sort of applied for university.
Yep.
I got in. So I started off doing a business degree at university.
Yep.
So that was the first 3 years, and then I sort of transitioned over to mathematical sciences. I really liked sort of, you know, the algebraic equations. You
did do maths at uni?
I did, eventually, yeah. Mate, it was like a sub-major, I suppose you call it.
Yeah, right. So 3 years in business, then you went into mathematics, what did you call it? Psychology?
It was like mathematical sciences.
Oh, sorry, mathematics sciences. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So it was all that sort of equations and sort of formulas and algorithms and things like that.
Right.
So it was very high level, but yeah, my mind seemed to work in a very... I mean, have you watched the movie Beautiful Mind?
I have. Big Rusty.
Yeah. So, you know, I had a bit of comparison like that. And just things just clicked at that certain age. So
Really? You comparing yourself to Russell Crowe?
I wouldn't say that today. No.
I'm only joking. So do you have like the crazy spaz outs where you just in there and you just write on the whiteboards and go crazy?
Oh, it just sort of flowed.
Really?
Everything just made sense to me in those classes.
So weird, bro. That's mad.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and I didn't know what was going to come after it or come of it. So that was the part that I was sort of lacking. There was no direction as to what happens post this.
Can I ask you as well, with that, say, degree and even being on Russell Crowe's level in that movie, right? Being the crazy, he's got all the ideas and all the stuff comes to it. Like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that degree?
That's right. I really didn't have that thought process. I didn't plan that out thoroughly enough at that point. So,
but what can you do with that degree?
Well, I was looking into sort of like sports betting and sort of setting I know you're going to
we
laugh
go.
at me because now I absolutely despise anything to do with like betting and gambling. But it was sort of more like just trying to work out algorithms in that sort of space. And
Okay.
I thought that's interesting. I love sport.
Okay.
So, I can sort of set up these
Interesting.
algorithms and
Yeah. I laugh because it kind of seems like it sounded like you were taking maths, and then I thought you meant like applying it to sports betting and like dodgily winning, like card counting, but for the races and stuff. I thought that was what you meant.
I was trying to keep it above board, so I wasn't going to go into the locker.
We won't go to. We'll cut that bit. All right, I'll save you. We'll cut that bit.
Yeah, so that was the part I was sort of lacking. I completed the degrees.
Yep.
Everything was going well. I went back to my business degree.
Okay.
And so that was in hospitality tourism management,
Yep.
primarily focusing on that. So
Okay.
I entered the field of sort of like short-term accommodation, so
Okay.
property management,
Yeah.
essentially. So I got into a role there into sort of my early 20s
Yep.
and just got promoted very quickly in the early years. And yeah, it was a very fascinating job. Enjoyed it.
Where was that?
That was in the city. So in
Okay.
Sydney, CBD,
Yeah.
big 550-bed hostel there.
Really?
So-
backpackers.
Yeah, predominantly
No way.
backpackers.
Is it still there?
Still kicks around.
No
yeah.
way.
Yeah, there was a bit of a thing where during the lockdowns they had a bit of a minor blip,
Yep,
but
yep.
no, they're still doing well.
Wood. Okay. Cool, man.
Yeah,
That's
so
mad.
I went into that, and then sort of throughout that sort of phase of my life,
Yep.
I discovered traveling. So I'd pack my bags
we go.
every few years.
Yeah.
So I laugh because when I was around that sort of 14, 15
Yeah.
years, you're a big football fan, right, Sammy?
Yeah.
So France 98 World Cup.
Okay.
That was my first proper World Cup,
Yeah.
watching it, and I just got obsessed.
Yeah.
I was
big,
like,
big Ronaldo, OG Ronaldo,
oh,
just
that year,
shredding for
Zinedine
fun.
Zidane.
Yeah, I was going to say Zidane.
He
as
was
well.
the year that was the year where he
didn't
sort of-
Brazil won, but
No, France got him
Did France win
3-0
it?
in the final.
Oh.
Zidane, was it Ronaldo choked on his tongue before the game? Do you remember that?
no, I
He
don't.
had that on the morning of the final, and then he didn't play. So
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So, so they won 3-0. Yeah,
So-
Zidane was his full golden era. He's a full beast.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So they took the World Cup that year on their home soil, and
Yeah.
I was just obsessed. I thought,
Yeah.
all right, when is the next World Cup that I could potentially go to? And I looked at the calendar, timed everything. I thought, all right, I finished school in 2002.
Where was the 2002 one?
That was Korea, Japan.
Really? No way.
Yeah.
Oh, they had a joint
So I
on
was-
Korea, Japan.
I was finishing up my HSC
Yeah.
that year, so that's out on the table. Germany 06.
Yeah.
I'd penciled it in.
Hang on one second. So 2002, that's the one that Ronaldo scored the double and they beat Germany and they won 2-0. Yeah, okay. So
that
that's
was
what I
that year.
remember. Yeah, he was a machine.
Yeah, that's
Machine.
right.
Yeah,
that was his sort of comeback World Cup. Where he's
Yeah.
come back and proved himself after his earlier sort of flop in 98. So
tongue chew, whatever he did. Yeah, right. Okay, so you've gone on. So you're following World Cups.
yeah, so
Right.
penciled it in at age 14.
I will say though, you follow a terrible team.
On a domestic level.
Yes.
Ooh, why is that, Sammy? How many trophies do we have?
I don't know. Liverpool has more.
Man United, I mean, we're in a bit of a lull at the moment. We're sort of in
That's a nice way to put
rebuilding
it.
for the last decade.
Not as bad as Chelsea.
That's true. So
As of recording right now, Liverpool are on top of the table. That's all we need to know. And they just won the trophy. So we'll keep going, mate. We'll keep going. The Carabao Cup that no one actually cares
no,
about.
that's right. That's right.
Unless
I
you
mean,
get the quadruple and then it's worthwhile.
yeah. So look,
Anyway, moving
we're
on.
doing our best there. So, so that was was
Okay.
my focus back
Okay.
then as a young kid. So
I'll get some hate mail from that one, but yeah, sorry, keep going.
So I'm building up in my head going, all right, 06, I
Yep.
need to get myself to that World Cup. What do I got to do to get there? So that's what brought on all the sort of workings and
Where was the 06 one?
Germany.
Germany. Okay.
Yeah. So with
sweet.
the Polish background that I
Yeah.
had, I thought this is terrific. Neighbor
Perfect.
country. I'll base myself in Poland.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do some traveling around Europe that year. This is it. You know, I did a bit of uni between sort of finishing high school and getting there, but
Yep.
I was intent. Saving, hustling, working. I was just grinding away as much as I could during
Yeah,
that
awesome.
sort of period.
Yeah. And you're still working at the hostel?
That happened after I'd come back. So
Okay.
it was interesting when I was just about to jump on that trip
Yeah.
and go over there. I had saved around about sort of 30 to 40K thereabouts.
Yep.
I remember mum having a conversation with me and goes, have you ever thought about putting some money into property?
Really?
And I thought, why would I do that?
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean like I'm in debt? And I've got
Yeah.
a mortgage? I'm 20 years old, mum.
Yeah.
Like, is that a smart move?
Come on, mum. Apparently it was.
Little did she know, like that would have set me up something dramatic.
100%.
But I just didn't have the guidance and the understanding and the sort of knowledge behind what that works. So I did the
Yep.
trip. Great year, 06. You know, that's when Australia had their golden era.
Yeah, Timmy
The Duke,
Cahill off the
Cahill.
bench.
That's right. So
Big Timmy.
we had a great run that World Cup.
Yeah.
The experiences were amazing for me.
Were you in the stadium when we beat Japan 3-1?
All the games. I went to all 4 of their games. So
So when Lucas Neal choked it as well?
yeah, that was rough.
That was bad.
Kaiserslautern, that was horrible to watch. But look, it's Italy. It's what's expected, I guess,
get
from
Suzo
them.
on there as well. There we go. All right, moving on.
Yeah, so I've come back after that trip, and that's when I've got into the whole hostel, and then the whole 20s. I've just sort of been juggling the whole travel, save.
Okay. So you're enjoying your 20s. You were traveling. You were enjoying it. You were working in a hostel. You're having some fun and enjoying it from that side, right? So the investing was on the side, even though Mum put it in the mind back in. I don't know if she planted the seed or not, but she said it back when you were 20.
She fluttered with the idea, and I think, now that I look back at it, I sort of, look back and think, that was quite an interesting moment in my time. But the 20s was just all about experiences.
Fun. So what did we finish the 20s with? You've had a lot of experience. You had a lot of fun. You've gone to 3 World Cups.
Yeah. No,
roughly? Or
almost 3.
Yeah. And then what degrees have you come out of the back of uni with?
So we've got the business degree. We've got the mathematical sciences. And then...
I have to get you reading my spreadsheets, mate.
There's another degree happening still later, so hold your horses.
Okay. So you've come out with 2 degrees.
Yeah.
Another degree's coming out. You're 30. Let's say we hit 30. Where's the game plan here? Where are we sitting?
So at this stage, I've got a long-term relationship.
Okay.
I've moved over to Europe. So I'm living in Europe.
Yeah.
So that's all happening.
You don't need to pause because I pulled a stunned mullet face, mate. You can keep going. Here we go.
I was enjoying life. Life was good. But then, there's a bit of a shift in life at that point. Dad came down with cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, so he got diagnosed. It was battling it for a few months there, and I was sort of contemplating whether I wanted to go overseas and live abroad, but he sort of pulled me aside and said, go and live life. Live your life.
Yeah.
Don't just put anything on hold for me. So went over there.
Is he still all good? Did he pull through?
Went over there, did the whole thing, and then Mum sort of called me at one point and said, look, things aren't looking good for him.
Yeah.
Look, this is the decision. What are you going to do? You're going to come home and support us, or are you going to just keep living? And it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I packed my bags and just took the next flight literally 2 days afterwards and came back to Australia. It was terminal. So I think I had seen him and spent about 3 weeks with him, and he passed away.
Oh, fuck, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So...
Fuck, boy, you never told me that, man. I joke around about your Bricky's old boy having a fucked body, mate. Honestly, mate.
No,
you never told me that. I'm
good.
sorry, man. Jesus.
His body was bashed up. He worked hard. He was a tough worker. 6-7 days a week. He did anything to support his family.
Man, did he get to enjoy life, or did he just work nonstop?
So he enjoyed life to a point,
Yeah.
but I think he worked so hard. He was just there to support us. 4 kids, Mum wasn't working that much. So, his primary focus was, supporting the family, looking after us. And having that opportunity, leaving Poland, living in Australia, roof over his head. I think for him was a huge achievement.
Of course, yeah.
That was massive.
That might be living for him.
Yeah, exactly. He was so satisfied with that. So nothing against him. So, but it just sort of made me think and sort of reconsider life. And I felt really guilty at that stage. I'd gone overseas.
Because you'd been away.
Yeah, I'd been away. I hadn't helped him. My siblings were still at home looking after him, helping Mum throughout it. So
correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm out of line with this, but when he said to you, go and enjoy life, do you think he would have wanted you to stay at home and not do what you really wanted to do, as opposed to going chasing those dreams and having fun and living exactly like you said, go and live? You were in your 20s or 30 at that time?
I was late 20s.
Late 20s.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what he wanted. He didn't want me to hang around and just, watch him be with him. Yeah, it's not the way he wanted me to remember him. So it was more live your life. You've got this opportunity now, to live abroad. You've been doing it on and off for a few years now, but now, the window's open, take it.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I jumped on it, but then I guess, that dilemma of, life and family, I knew family was number one for me, so.
Yeah. So is this a bit of a turning point for you after that? It's a mindset shift? Have you decided to stay home? Did you head back to the missus over in Poland?
So it really made me think about what was I doing in life?
Yeah.
Was what I was doing meant to be for me? So that whole thing around purpose and trying to find something that's meaningful for myself. Yep. Am I happy doing what I'm doing, or am I just coasting? And I was sort of at that I was fighting that for a while. And I went through that relationship breakdown that same year. So that compounded a long-term relationship. So it was I was struggling there for a while, really trying to find myself, discover what was going on. I mean, it brought our family a lot closer together, between my siblings and my mum. We sort of really bonded after that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you don't ever want to experience a moment like that for that to be the case. But
that's kind of like the silver lining, right? At the back end of it is it brought you guys all close together again after that point.
Absolutely.
Because you're very close with your family. I always knew you were really close with your family. Yeah.
Family's always been important to us.
Yeah.
But going through something like that together just really sort of emphasized how close we were. And then, you know, once everything hits the floor, then, you know your family's always going to be there for you, right?
Yeah. So crazy, man.
So that was like a very interesting moment for me. And that's when I was trying to work out what's going on. What am I doing? Am I still going to be, running around the world, traveling? So then I sort of looked back into the old numbers game again.
Here we go. He's gone back to the casino. He's counting cards, folks.
I'm trying to work out, all right, how can I make numbers stick? Numbers are obviously my game. I do like the world of numbers. What's accounting all about? Let's have a look at this whole accounting space.
So we went back to uni for.
So I went back to uni, getting my financial accounting degree. Okay. I was looking to specialize in forensics accounting. Yep. So I like some sort of element of busting people up and anything sort of dodgy going on.
Bloody hell. Jesus,
I know,
man.
It was random.
You're the most qualified bloke in the bloody business. Lukey thinks he's got 1 degree, mate. You got like 17 or whatever the hell we're at now.
Well, that's the thing. While I was doing this degree, so that was a master's, so going for about sort of a year and a half.
Yeah.
At that same stage, one of my brothers was going through an application process with Fire and Rescue New South Wales.
Okay.
So I thought, interesting, what's all this about? So I started talking to him a little bit about that and sort of understanding, what's going on there, why the sort of mind shift for him. And then I sort of explored a bit more into it and it really caught my fancy. So I started looking into it myself and then had a good crack with my other brother.
Okay. So did he get in?
We all got in.
Oh man. Wait, 2 or 3 of you?
3 of us.
All 3 of you?
Yeah.
How good?
So one brother got in a year ahead of us me and my other twin, we got in the year following.
How good's that?
Then I got the call up to start my college.
Yep.
To start my training.
For the accounting?
No, for...
Oh, sorry.
For the fires.
Okay. Oh, they call it college?
Yeah. So we went to college, did our training there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's about 14, 16 weeks.
Okay. Just intensive.
Full time.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was going to be difficult with the end of my degree.
Yep.
So I didn't know what to do at that stage. I was kind of a semester off from finishing.
Yep.
I thought I'd, just defer for that semester. I'd come back to it later.
Famous last words.
Did that happen? I went through the fireys and then that was it. Okay. So I didn't actually eventually finish up with that degree.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
No. So I got close to it.
Still 2.5. It's more than Luke.
Could I go back? But
it's more than Luke.
But it was a good opportunity. It was, I just something I really wanted to at that point. I really was intent on finding something meaningful, purposeful in my life. So that was where the sort of trajectory and the path was.
The fireys. That's what took you into the fireys. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly. I wanted to find something I could, really find in myself to help other people. And so I was doing that. That was probably now, 2016 to 2018 we're talking about.
Yep. How old are you at this point?
At this point, I am...
Early 30s?
34.
Okay.
34, I've entered the fire brigade.
We'll call that early 30s.
Yeah, early 30s. It's very generous. Thanks, Sammy.
Hey, so generous, mate. It's an apt description of where you were in your 30s.
I appreciate that. It's lovely, the kind words.
All right, so you're 34. You're in the fireys. Everything's ticking over. Run us through it, mate. How do we get to this first deal? How far off are we from this first deal?
So next thing that sort of happened in my life then, mum comes down with an autoimmune disease.
Oh, shit.
So shit's not looking good for her. So she's had a bit of a near miss. At that stage, I'm sort of like, all right, well, I've already lost one parent. I can't do this with mum. I need to be there for her. So I've just literally packed up my whole life, moved back in with her. So I've decided to sort of care for her for that period of time, make sure I can get her through this stage of her life.
Yep.
She lost employment at that point as well. Okay. So there was no income stream for her.
Yep.
So at that point, I've got my second job. So I've gone back to that hostel. I've got a second income. So I'm like, look, I need to help mum. I need to grind. I need to hustle.
No way.
I need to push. So I'm pushing, grinding. Everything's going well. Mum's on the mend now. She's learning how to manage her a disease.
Yep.
Everything's fine. And then all of a sudden 2020 hits. We get into that lockdown COVID period and I've lost my income stream. And I've gone, wow.
Oh, the second one, the hostel?
Yeah, the hostel. So I've just lost that. They've closed borders. There's no more tourism travel.
Yep.
All right, what do I do? I need to sort of work this out.
Okay.
There's another path here. I can't just rely on, pure income through active income, essentially.
Yep.
So at that point, I've started to look into options. Investing's obviously the path I need to explore. Something's triggered my mind. I've looked at all the asset classes. The one that stood out the most for me was property.
Okay. Why?
It was a solid asset class. I saw the utility case in the land. I was very analytical looking at it. All right, well, I know land appreciates and buildings depreciate. So if I'm getting the land and I'm building something on it, utilizing it, which is essentially the accommodation, what do people need? They need shelter. So I thought, all right, that's never going to really die unless something really drastically happens in the world.
Yep.
I'm comfortable there. And I looked at the financial component of it, leverage. I thought, fuck, this leverage thing is amazing.
Leverage, yeah.
If I can put only a fraction of my money down.
It's the biggest weapon we've got in our arsenal, man.
Absolutely.
100%.
When I sort of realized that, I thought this is a no-brainer.
Yep.
Property's my asset class.
Yep.
I did dabble in a few other asset classes.
Okay.
Bit of shares, bit of crypto, just to sort of...
Bit of cards at the cash. Yeah, come on.
Did I walk away from the casino? Maybe I had a little flutter throughout getting my deposits.
Mate, once again, we're just going to cut that bit. I don't want any sort of heat on you. No, I'm joking. All right, so beautiful, man. So you've decided on property. We're in lockdowns in COVID. Are you binging a shitload of content because obviously you're in lockdowns? I mean, you're in the fiery station as well, right? Like it's a pretty decent schedule in terms of it's hectic for when you're on, but then you got that nice little break off as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you're just binging all this content during this thing and learning as much as you can about it.
Yeah, that's right. So when the bells are going, then bang, we're on. But as soon as we come back, so I remember specifically it would have been early 21. I've come back from a house fire. Doing just my normal routine afterwards. And then I've just put on a podcast. It was an investor story. Okay. I love the investor stories.
Yeah, here we go.
And then someone's come up. Sammy Gordon. I was like, oh, okay, this is an interesting podcast. I loved his enthusiasm.
Yeah.
His story resonated with me. The way you started was similar to where I was at. Different maybe age brackets, but sort of the same sort of point in upbringing. And I learned that, we were sort of not too far in terms of where we sort of grew up in.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything sort of made sense at that point. I thought, all right, how do I get in contact with this guy? So I started binging through all your social media.
Yeah.
So even the old school Wise Wednesdays.
Pretty horrid back then.
All your little whiteboard Wise Wednesday sessions.
Go check them out.
I literally spent the whole week just going through all of them.
Really?
Just needed to find who's Sam Gordon. Yeah. What's he all about?
Yeah.
And then I learned you had a buyer's agency.
Here we go.
Funnily enough, that didn't really cross my mind. I'd sort of heard about buyer's agents, but I didn't know whether, do I need to use one or do I just grab somebody as a mentor and just sort of ask them a few questions as I do it myself? So that's what I was grappling with to begin with.
Yeah.
But then it was a no-brainer. I sort of thought, this is what the path I need to go down.
Yeah.
So
I think the almost like a point you put in there, it's almost like and forgive the bluntness of the comment, but the uneducated investor at the very start, where as they're gaining their education around the side of things, they don't understand the value that a high quality buyer's agent can bring to the table. And mate, there's very, very few out there, in my opinion, that actually do operate at a very, very high level. But there's a couple of us, right? And the value that they can bring will always massively outweigh the costs that they are. Now, the average ones and the shit ones and all the rest of it, they're not worth their money. You're better off going out there and trying to do it yourself and having a crack at it, binging as much content as you can. But the genuinely high performing, and you would know this from the deals that we've done, but obviously being within the business now as well, the high quality that comes from someone operating at a ridiculous level, knowing street levels, knowing house levels as to what to buy, what not to buy, and then being able to purchase it at a discount, making the money on the way in anyway. Man, it's a no-brainer when you actually, and I think the biggest point where it becomes the no-brainer is when you actually execute the first deal. And whether it's like immediately or 3 or 6 months later when you get the first val and you're like, holy shit, okay, that makes sense.
The penny
drops.
makes sense.
Yeah, man.
The penny drops.
Yeah.
And it did so for me.
That's awesome.
In that first deal.
That's what, mate, let's talk about the first deal. Speaking of the first deal, let's talk about the first deal. When are we? What time frame are we?
All right. So we're early 2021.
Okay.
So I've come on board as a client of APS.
Yep.
Things are locked down, so there's not much activity.
A few house fires at that time?
A few house fires are still going on. People are being ruthless at home.
I can imagine they would be. A few more people at home. A few more burger patties getting flipped.
That's right. People were, there was a lot of interesting tales back then, but I was there.
You got any juicy ones for us before we go? Come on, there's got to be something real good.
Maybe at the end I might disclose something.
Here we go.
We'll see. We'll keep the audience.
Big Paulie Carbier's leaving the hook in for the end. You won't know when it's coming, guys, but there's going to be something I'm going to hold you to that at the end. If there's nothing juicy, who's going to cut the fucking app? No, I'm joking. Let's go. All right, so first deal. Come on, mate. Let's go.
First deal. All right, so July 21.
Yep.
You've come to me with this cracking deal over in WA.
Here we go.
I remember specifically, you've called me up that night.
Yep.
You've given me the rundown of it. as a first-time buyer who's never owned property,
Yep.
I had naturally some reservations.
Yep.
A few little minor things.
It's also on the far side of the country, in the state and the city that everyone said, you don't buy in Perth, you don't buy in WA, because it has had its moments.
Yep.
But that thrown on top as well, right?
Funnily enough, the location didn't bother me too much.
Really?
I'd spent
Okay.
some time in Perth. So I used to live there back in the day, my hostel
Actually, sorry, I do
time.
remember
So
that. Yep.
that didn't bother me. It was
Okay.
more just, I mean, I've just got to do what I got to do. But I needed to know the specifics of
Yep.
the property.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. You should have sent me that you're a mathematician, mate. I would have sent you no, I probably wouldn't have sent you anything extra. To be honest, we should have chatted about it on the phone. Yeah, go
So
on.
there's a few little curly things that
Okay.
were associated with the property.
Go on, tell us.
Do you want to know this?
Yeah, I know them, but I want the audience to know what they were. Go on.
You mentioned specifically that the current tenant had a couple of dogs in
Yep.
the property. And so those dogs, he just let them roam in the house.
Yep.
So we're talking about dog poo just smeared all over the walls. So we're talking about, this is COVID lockdown. So
Oh, fuck.
property managers couldn't get access to the property.
Yep.
So there's a little difficulties with the current tenant in place.
Yep.
And I just hesitated and thought, wow, what does that take for me to actually fix? Like I thought that was my biggest hurdle.
Yeah. Which is funny because people will hear that and they'll think, oh my fucking God, they gave you a property with dog shit on the walls. Half the time when situations like this pop up, it's why you can negotiate the shit out of a house because no owner-occupier is going to buy that. But we know we can send a team in, clean it up for a $1,500 bond clean, and then the things, all right, still would be grubby. We obviously did some other renovation works on it as well. Yeah. But like the value in the numbers, which is probably what you're about to get into, the value on the number side, because it had been mistreated, mismanaged, and man, it's an opportunity, right? And this is where it's like, the most pristine properties in the world are the hardest things to negotiate properly on because owner-occupiers love them, want them, probably lives in it as well. They're the hardest things to negotiate, the big discounts. But things that are smelly, ugly, gross, all the rest of it, it's understanding how much it costs to bring it back to a good level and then what's the difference between purchase price, that cost, and value to know what's going to make you money.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like when you came to me, you said purchase price $260. I thought, is that still possible? We're talking a house on.
We're talking. Yeah, sorry, go on.
We're talking a house 3x1 on a 700 square meter block.
3x1 brick. 30 minutes from the CBD.
I thought this isn't like he's, this is not real, is it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So when I put it into perspective and what was required to sort of bring it up to a tenable position, I thought, all right, this is a no-brainer.
So the mathematician says no-brainer. I love it.
So I jumped on the deal.
Okay.
So we jumped on it. We got through settlement.
Even with the shit in the house.
It was done. It was in my head. I just knew I got to do what I've got to do to get this thing to scratch.
Okay.
So I did all my due diligence at that point, just calling around. Because at that point, I don't think APS had a project management team like they do at the moment.
We leaned more on the property managers back then, especially when it was a bit cooler. You could lean on the PMs a bit more, and the trades were easier to get. So we ran a lot of stuff just through PMs.
Which was fine. It was very
PMs,
smooth.
property managers, guys.
Yeah. So the property manager, myself, we found trades, we negotiated, and within sort of a 4 to 6 week period, fresh paint, new flooring, landscaping, changed a few doors, a bit of bathroom maintenance was required. And then I think
You haven't thrown in a clean yet. There's a bond clean as well,
there's
right?
absolute clean.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the end, there was a huge clean that needed to be done.
Okay.
So once I all sort of finalised all that, it came to a total of $8,500. So not only from that perspective, like the rents initially, I think, on that property were about $250.
Yeah. Again, another reason we could negotiate it super hard because it was that average lease in there with an average tenant.
Oh, it was insane. And then I bumped that up to that point to, I think it was $370.
Okay. $370 on a $260 plus $8,000 reno. So $268K, you got a $370 a week rent.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Massive. The penny dropped 6 months later. Bank reval's done. It's gone from 260 up to 330.
Oh, yeah.
I pulled out 65K. I've gone, wait a minute, I've just earned that in a year at the Fireys.
Yeah.
I've just pulled that out in one deal.
With the shit-stained walls. But Paul, why did you buy the shit walls?
That's right. That's what I was questioning and doubting myself at the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
mate, I love that. And that's your first deal.
That's my first
deal.
deal.
Over there. I love that. Yeah,
that's
beautiful.
right.
I still remember the conversation with you when we were talking about it. I go, mate, it's cosmetic. You just get in there. We'll give it a bond clean. That's why we're getting it at a mad discount.
Yeah.
We'll get this thing cleaned up for good money.
Exactly right.
That's good.
So the penny dropped at that point. I was like, this thing is epic.
Yeah.
So then I thought, how do I get into my next deal? How do I, like 60K-ish was enough, but maybe just quite a little bit short.
Yeah.
So I was then hustling. Early 2022, my brother-in-law, he's a builder.
Okay.
So he is looking for a labourer.
Here we go.
So he goes, do you want to come with me for a few months? I got this new job, this new site. I need someone to come work with me for a few months.
Yep.
I thought, all right, fireys, labouring, let's go.
Yeah.
This is like back when I was 14 again, right?
Yeah,
How hard
100%.
can it be? I want this next deal ASAP.
Yep.
So for 6 months, I just hustled. Coming off a fiery shift, 24 hours, straight to the construction site, did my day there. Next morning again, back to the fireys.
Yeah.
And just build that deposit up.
Yep.
So in combination of the equity release plus deposit.
Because I remember as well, if we wind back to then to 22, I remember you said to me, because it had a nice jump, obviously the first deal as well, and you're like, but I wouldn't mind spending a little bit more getting somewhere really nice if we can get somewhere like...
You remember that?
Mate, I remember all conversations. Come on, mate. I remember having that conversation because I was like, 60 grand is still enough. 65,000 is enough. I can get you another deal. We could replicate something similar to the first deal. But I remember you specifically wanted something a bit nicer in a bit of a better area. And while the first one served a great purpose, like we'll run through the numbers, you've owned this thing less than 3 years. It's almost doubled.
Yeah.
Right. The shit stained wall, buddy. It's almost doubled in less than 3 years. But obviously you wanted to move into something, into a bit of a, if you could pick up something a bit nicer suburb. And yeah, man, it was a very nice house. But I'll let you continue. But I remember that's why we needed more of a deposit because 65 grand would have been enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you were specifically chasing the sort of blue chip location.
I was going to say,
Not
I
blue
used
chip,
the
but-
word blue chip with you in the early days.
I don't
and
remember that.
you
Did I slap you through the phone?
you weren't too happy when I said that word. So you had to really put me into place about what blue chip was. So that was another fun conversation. But I was adamant. I needed the sort of an asset of that sort of style.
So I got you into a blue chip, but like it's like a blue chip location, but it's still enough of a working class area that you're not paying stupid money for a very high class area with a really good location wise and everything as well.
That's right.
Desirable, highly desirable, right?
So that one was a bit more trickier. I highly leveraged myself a bit more for that one. So I went in with, I think it was a 5, maybe 7% deposit.
Okay.
So
Did you go that high?
Yeah, for that one I needed to just to get into that price point. So
Fucking blue chip.
I just thought I had no responsibilities. I was on my own, no dependence.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Just to get the deals across at that early stage. I
Yes.
need to build out this foundation. So that was my intention. So we got into that second deal. That was May 2022.
Okay. So almost a full 12 months on.
Just under 12 months,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Yep.
yeah, given that sort of initial sort of reno I did on that first one,
Yep.
and then waiting for that reval to come in, then, yeah, just under 12 months.
Okay, cool. All right, perfect. Talk us through the numbers, man.
So that one, purchase price, we got it for $450.
Okay.
That was a 3-2 on about a 600 square meter block, brick, beautiful, literally maybe 2 minutes walk to the beach, maybe even, 2 or 3 minutes.
Yep.
Unbelievable location, already tenanted. The rent on that was incredible. $585 a week on that one.
Ooh.
I just thought, no.
That's not a blue chip yield.
What's he doing?
That must be an APS deal, that one. Yeah, go on.
So that one comes from Morgs.
Okay.
So Morgs come through with an absolute stunner. So no, it was absolutely stoked with that one.
Awesome.
So yeah, so APS done it for me again. So very smooth process for that
Market value, estimated market value on purchase.
one. Estimated market value, I think we had it around about sort of 490, maybe 500 even. It was...
I think on purchase at the 480, at the 450, I think we were talking around 480, 490 or something comes to mind for me as well. But it was, the market had just started like moving rapidly as well.
Yeah.
So the growth was flying on this thing. I think the biggest kicker when we're talking about those values is it was 500 after a realization, right? Once we did a building and pest and once we got our managers and whatnot through it as well. When we bought it at 450, the agent who brought it to us was a three bed plus study, 2 bath, blah, 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 all the rest of the stuff. They brought it as a 3 bed plus study. So we thought it was a tiny little room. And a market value on the time for a 3 bed plus study for all that was probably around about the 480-ish sort of money, 475, 480, probably 480 because it was in a good pocket. But man, then the real kicker on this thing was obviously when we went through it, and it sometimes can happen, sometimes doesn't. And that's why we never actually told you about it because we're like, if it does, it's cream. If it doesn't, we don't want you to like have reservations about a deal because it didn't have the extra potential. But the coolest thing was obviously when we went through, we actually measured up the room because it was like a weird time in WA. Those years where those were being built, they were bedroom size, but they called heaps of the bedroom size rooms as studies. It was really weird. We found heaps of them. We did very, very similar to that. And sometimes they were too small to actually class as a bedroom. But this thing, the study was the size of a normal bedroom. So the real kicker was when we kind of went through and I got the building and pest guy to measure it up for us. And it was a legal size bedroom. So literally on settlement, we changed it over to being a 4x2. And instead of being the 480 market value, it was more likely 500 plus. So, man, it's just awesome when you get these little tweaks in there and little things you can do like that. And literally, it was already there. We just pretty much it didn't have the door side of things on it. We put the door on it and then just kind of made it that from that perspective. It was awesome, man. Extra little kind of uplift for you almost immediately as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was May 22. You said
May 22. That was deal number 2, and so then I was adamant I needed that third deal.
Okay.
So I think I came back to you again. Almost maybe 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
After that, we're talking like probably August.
Okay. And where are you getting your deposit from? In August 22, where are you getting this next deposit from?
So because I was quite highly leveraged for that second one,
Yep.
I still had a bit of funds left over.
Okay.
And I was sort of getting close to now sort of maxing out with those top tier lenders.
Yep.
So the amount I could potentially borrow was getting smaller and smaller.
Yep.
I remember this is my issue with you saying, I was like, I've only got about 180, 190K to borrow here.
Yep.
You know, if I stack up a 12% deposit, you know, can you get me something in that sort of like 220, 230K range? Is that still possible?
Go on, mate.
And then, heaven forbid, there we go. He's got me a deal, 220, deal number 3. We're in Queensland now.
Yep.
So we're on an 800 square meter block. We're talking about another one, 3x1. I thought, no, this isn't
3x1, 800 squares at 220.
ridiculous money.
Yeah.
I thought, he's done it again. Here I was thinking that's not enough money for me to get over the line with another deal. But
yeah. And this is August 22.
so this third one was, we got the deal in October. So
October.
I came to you in August.
Okay.
We got the deal in October.
Mate, good things take time, buddy.
Oh, that's
Things take
right.
time. Give me a couple of months.
I was patient in a way.
Thank you, mate.
And the funny thing about this one was I remember specifically I was at the fire station this night. You've tried to call me like 3 or 4 times. I'm not answering. You probably knew what was going on.
Yeah.
You've gone, fuck, he's in a house fire. I was in a house fire.
I've got a hot deal for you, mate. This thing's red hot. Fucking flaming. The house may as well be on fire at 220. Yeah, go on.
I've come back to the station. My phone's blowing up.
Yeah,
Sam Gordon's trying to call me. I'm like, he's got me a deal. Like, I probably missed it. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I'm shitting myself.
Yeah.
I've called you back straight away, and he goes, mate, I need an answer almost soon because this thing's almost gone.
I've been holding on to it for you.
Yeah. I said, all right, flick it over right away.
Yeah.
You flicked it over.
Have you got
me.
one hand on the fire hose, just putting a house out, and the other one looking through the deal, or what?
That's exactly how it was. I'm like, can I just step away just for a quick 2 minutes?
No, it wasn't. Was it actually?
Nah, I wouldn't be doing that. Priority first.
You got me there. Priority first, deal.
Deal. Well, at that point,
Yeah, go on.
stack them up, right? So we've got that deal.
Yeah.
So I was just blown away.
So pull the trigger on it. Yeah.
Yeah, had to pull the trigger on that one. I knew, at 220 price point, like the rent on that was, I think at that point, 300.
Okay. Yeah.
So very adequate rent.
Yeah. Which would have been a little bit light on even for that
It was
area at the time.
definitely
though, as well.
light on.
Would have been mid threes.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah. So the rents are now
Should have
sort of
been
market value now. So they're looking good there. But that was the third deal. So now at that point, I'm pretty much tapped out with the lenders.
Okay.
So-
Tell me something though, before we dive on from that. We're in back end of 2022, right?
Yep.
Deal you paid 264, $8,000 reno. What's that worth?
We're looking at 500 now.
500 now. Yeah.
Yeah. 500
sweet.
today.
The blue chip 450 purchase. What's that worth now?
650 today.
That's light on. It's
That's
definitely
light
worth
on.
700.
Yeah. So these are all bank valuations. So
And 220K purchase.
that's sitting now at 340.
Okay. Not
So
bad.
it's-
not bad.
Things are doing well. Just in the background, bubbling away.
Very nice.
I'm all about the bread and butter early on.
Here we go.
So I
All
remember
right.
that conversation we had. I
Yeah.
was just continually stacking up bread and butters, and I
Mate,
remember
you
you
got to
in
build the
my ear.
foundations, bro. You got to build the foundations. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I remember you in my ear saying,
Yeah.
"Cash flow. Now's the time to think about
Yeah,
cash
yeah.
flow. Now's the time to think about cash flow." So I've come to you again in early 23,
Yep.
and I've gone, "All right, well, this is what I've got. These are my options." I've sort of tapped out with all my lenders.
Yep.
What are we doing?
Yep.
And so you've sort of steered me down the path of potential cash flow.
Yep.
Don't think I really wanted it at that point. I was still adamant. I need some more growth. I need capital.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So I've gone away for a few months, just hustling, working, going
Yep.
back to the grind.
Yep.
This is early 23.
Yep.
We hadn't spoken for a while.
I missed you.
And I thought you'd forgotten about me.
Hey, come
And
on.
actually, there was actually a pivotal point prior to that.
Here we go.
So if you recall, back in late 2021,
Yes.
after my first deal
Yep.
with yourself, you were looking for people to bring onto APS.
I remember this. Yeah.
I applied for one of the roles.
Yeah.
In hindsight, look back at it, that was not the right role for me.
Definitely not the right role.
I was jumping into house fires. You were like, how are you going to help me if you're jumping into house fires?
I think the funny thing was, though, man, it's actually something I really realized about yourself as well, because what we did, this was back in late 2021. Man, I remember this so clearly. I remember going to the team and saying, if Paulie K ever leaves as a fiery, I'll hire that man as a buyer's agent. I would love to hire you. I was keen, but obviously you were still committed to there for a while. And man, everyone, I sent out an EDM to a database. I love to, if I can, hire from existing clients if they're the right fit and whatnot as well. I sent it out, and we're looking for buyer's agents roles. I can't remember what the second one was. I can't remember. We were hiring something else. I can't remember what it was though. And then the third one was a EA for myself at the time, and you were the only person out of everyone that applied for the EA. And I was like, really? And I remember getting you on the Zoom and we're having a chat. And I was like, you want to be the EA? And you're like, yeah, man, I want to learn everything. I just want to learn everything. And I was like, man, this guy just thinks different. Everyone tries to pull on the big boy pants and jump straight into being a buyer's agent. And a buyer's agent is a cutthroat game. Like, you think you can be a buyer's agent? It's to do it on our level, it is constant rejection and hard work and going crazy, because you can't. There's so many parts that you need to finesse within yourself to be really good at it, but there's so much rejection that comes because we don't just do deals at market value or pay above. You get access to stock and you just flick it onto clients. We don't work like that, right? But anyway, I'm going off topic here, but it was funny that almost like you came in asking for the other role, and I'm like that guy would have been perfect actually for the buyer's agent role, the one that everyone else applied for. But yeah, man,
I recall you shifting my mind saying, have you ever thought about buyer's agent?
Did I? I don't remember that.
Really? Be a buyer's agent? I thought, but how am I going to get to learn about what you do? I wanted just to be next to you and just learn everything inside out.
100%.
I was adamant, and it wasn't the right time. Simple as that.
Yep.
Now I've done a few more deals with you at this stage in 22. Had that early conversation in 23. I thought you'd forgotten about me.
Yep, here we go.
Because I hadn't really been on the radar for about 6 months, because I was just grinding, hustling, trying to save this deposit. And then all of a sudden, I think out of the blue, you've just sent me a text and said, I want to have a quick chat with you.
You're going to laugh how this came about. I don't know if you know how this actually came about, but I'll let you tell your story and then I'll tell mine after.
Well, all I remember was getting that text from you going, I bet it's about this deal again. He's probably wondering if I've probably gone somewhere else, or he's probably got something. He's probably filthy at me that I haven't come back to him for a while.
Go on.
So I've called you. And
so you were nervous?
I was a little bit nervous.
Yeah, okay.
So I just thought,
you thought you were
is it serious
or
is it?
Go on.
Anyway, so I've called you. We've had a chat, and then I think you just come up to me and goes, how do you feel about joining the team? I said, what? Excuse me? What about the deal? No, don't write the deal. That will happen. Do you want to become a member of APS? And I thought, well, I'm still at the fire brigade. How's that going to work?
Yeah.
And you were like, I only need you maybe for a few days a week, just talking to a few clients, helping out a few things. I just, lulled on it for a few minutes. You walked me through it, and it was a no-brainer. I thought, this is it. This is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Doors opened for me. Like I found my community, my tribe. I felt at that point. So
yeah, man. You know how that came about as well?
No idea.
We needed someone like the client success, right? They kind of like communicated between, especially during that lull period where we're out there hunting for clients, and clients know it initially, but obviously if a wait time isn't, again, great deals don't sit on the shelf. It's not like you walk into Woolies and what peanut butter's on sale this week, that's what I'm going to buy. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
Things don't sit on the shelf on sale. People come to us for things on sale or at a discount, and that takes time. But obviously in that lull period, that's where we needed someone that had been through the process, that had built a portfolio, could answer people's questions. And man, like I thought you were in my mind for some role forever. Like ever since we had that chat, that Zoom chat, you had always been in my mind. I didn't know what role it was going to be. And Jimmy called me, and I was on the phone to Jimmy that night. I still remember this because I was in the Defender. I was driving over to Burleigh. I was getting a massage because my body was cooked. I've been training all week, and it was it would have been a Thursday or a Friday night. And I remember talking to Jimmy, and then as I walked, we were talking about this role, and I go, mate, I got the perfect guy. And I said, leave it with me. And then that's when I texted you as I was walking in, and I called you. I think I called you on the way when I was driving home. And then man, the rest is history. But it's kind of been a perfect learning curve for you, even in the way so many things are done before you came. And obviously now you've actually leveled up. You've gone to strategist level as well. You help a lot of the early clients going through their early pieces because you've done a lot with me. We haven't even finished obviously the journey yet, but there's just so many so many levels and layers that you've kind of taken yourself and seen, and you always asking me questions. You probably ask me But yeah, well, especially from the strategist perspective, you ask me more questions than anyone else, which is good, man, because you're always wanting to learn and pick things up and all different investing levels and everything as well. So I love it, man. I love that side of things, and it's awesome having you in the team. And so many clients have dealt with you now as well. So many clients will be pumped to hear your story too.
No, it's great. Like I'm so appreciative of like just given this opportunity in life. And sort of working with you guys and helping people like that for me was like I knew where I was at that stage of my life. A few years ago, and I thought, well, you know, I can now be the other guy on the other end. Helping and guiding others. So that was monumental.
I love it, mate. I love it. So that was a little pivotal moment in the portfolio, in the journey.
Yeah, just in my own sort of personal journey and sort of finding that sort of purpose and meaning in life and sort of trying to find, you know, where am I going to go long term in life? And so I looked at the portfolio. The portfolio is a tool for me. So something I didn't harp on at the beginning and sort of how this all kicked off with mum's sort of illness and me losing income was like, how am I going to help mum and support her? She's my primary focus right now. I've lost dad. I didn't get a chance to really, be that son that I should have been. I felt at that time, but I'm not going to make that same mistake with mum. So I'm going to use property as this tool to allow her to sort of still live her life and have fun, look after grandkids, whatever that looks like for us. So.
But be able to provide her with that income stream that allows her to
absolutely
without you having to worry about it sort of things because you've built that out, right? That's the vehicle that you've built out that income stream that will support her as well.
And that was sort of the primary focus. Like that was the strong why that I had, and I kept on hustling and grinding and going into deal number 4 now.
Here we go.
Same thing. So I've pretty much got the job offer. I'm just about there with my next deposit. So I'm like, Sammy, let's do this. Let's do another one. So I've gone down the bread and butter path again.
Here we go.
I'm like, yes, the portfolio needs more growth. Let's get some more growth in this bad boy.
Paying you too much, mate.
So September 2023.
Okay.
We're back in Queensland again for deal number 4. So we're looking at a 3-2 brick on approximately 550, 560-ish block size.
Okay.
So purchase
mathematical
price,
brain. What is it exactly?
567, I believe it was.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So purchase price for this one was 395.
Okay.
So recent valuation on that one, 445. So that's only been under 6 months. So 50K uplift already.
In less than 6 months. Love that.
Rent is solid, 460 per week on that one. So strong yield.
What's the era of the build? Like how old is that thing?
Talking early 2010s.
Oh, really? Shit. Okay. 10-year-old?
Just maybe a little tad over 10 years.
Okay.
So very adequate.
Beautiful.
I'm the numbers guy, remember?
You are. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, sweet. So that's mad, man. So you got a bit of depreciation as well, being a just over 10-year build, and a lot of other things going on with it as well. So that's awesome, man. And I know especially both of those last two in particular, because obviously we bought earlier for the Perth deals. This has got nice growth left in the tank, but especially those last two, they're set up in a really, really good, both different locations, but they're both in very strong growth locations that we believe are going to do very, very well in the next 2, 3, 5 years as well. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so that's the portfolio to date at this stage. Going through or just finalising a big refinance as we speak. So watch out. The next stage is about to occur over this next sort of 6-month period. So big refinance, cash coming out, pre-approvals in place, about to pull the trigger on potentially 2, maybe 3 more deals, looking at SMSF. So I've had to grind and work to get to this stage to build that sort of capital equity base. But I knew at that point, once I did that, allowed the portfolio to grow, then there'd be choices. There'd be more options for me.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love it, man. And if we have a quick squeeze back at the portfolio as well, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you got a couple here with granny flat potential on them as well. So you could kind of pull those levers and add additional dwellings to drive additional cash flow if required, if you got to a sticky point in there as well. I remember with the one at 220 on the 800 square meter block, you were very, very tight on borrowing, and you were very tight. But you still wanted that, and I was like, man, like I'm going to get you something. It's a mix. It's a hybrid. So it's going to be a bread and butter for now. It's going to grow. Like you said, you bought that a little over 12 months ago, and that thing's gone up 50%, right? Like 50%. So you bought it 220, now it's worth 340. So it's gone up a little bit over the 50%. So, but it's also got that lever that we could pull on it to build a secondary dwelling and then drive additional cash flow and serviceability into the portfolio as well. So I love that, man. I love having those levers that we can potentially pull on things like that too. So. That's awesome, man. So you're gearing up for potentially another 2 or 3 purchases this year.
That's correct.
You must be getting paid way too much at APS, bro. No,
I'm loving my new role. So.
Deserving, mate. You're deserving of what you get paid. No, it's good, man. It's good to see. Like, obviously, we're moving into a bit of like a supercharged way of your portfolio now as well. And I think the thing that I love too is, man, I know you ran through School of Property. You know, you've done the course and running through that and then spitballing ideas and re-strategizing how you're going to move forward now as well. All jokes aside, realistically, from the pay side of things, is you're obviously getting, you've got almost like a dual income side of things now, but you are moving forward in a very calculated and intelligent way with finance to allow yourself to keep moving forward. And I've loved kind of helping you strategize the next phase in your portfolio because, man, this year you're gonna enter the top 0.1% of investors. I'm going to guarantee you that 0.01% of investors, in Australia. So I'm really looking forward to helping you manage that and strategize and even work with you on that side of things as well. And I know all the questions are going to come from it, but I love it, man. I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be really, really powerful, especially when we kind of check in, probably this time next year, check in and see what you did in 2024 in your own portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see what happens in 12 months' time and the trajectory it could take.
100%, mate. I love it. Man, we've done pretty well to keep this thing to around about an hour. I've got a few things to kind of wrap up with. Your story's been inspiring, mate. Honestly, I've really, really loved it. There was things in there that I didn't know about, mate, that you almost brought a tear out of someone that's typically very tearless. Not much comes out of this thing, but, mate, there was some very moving things in there, man. And I think reflecting on, especially you as a person, like, how humble you are and how much of a nice bloke you are, but you've been through a lot of shit as well, man. It's I love to see, man, you're the typical fucking Aussie battler having a good go at these things and going really hard and not letting things stop you and get in your way. And it's very inspiring, man. So thank you so much for jumping on and sharing your journey.
No, thank you. I mean, look, my starting position is very different, very unique. And that's what I always tell people, like, don't compare yourself. I was 35 living in my, mum's garage, essentially still driving my Honda Jazz, but I thought,
Have you still got the Honda Jazz?
Still got the Honda Jazz.
Love
She's
it.
Still going strong.
Love it, mate. Delayed gratification.
No need for an upgrade. She's still 300,000 K, still going strong.
Ooh, that's a good shout out to Honda. Guys, we expect an ad to come in on Australian Property Scout for the longevity of your Honda Jazz. That's good.
No, I appreciate that, Sammy.
Mate, final round out of a few questions as well. What are your goals? What are you wanting to achieve in the portfolio?
From a portfolio perspective, I've always talked about sort of that 150K passive.
Okay.
Knowing what I know now and seeing what I've been able to achieve, I'm sort of tinkering on increasing that, but I'm still going to stick to that initial goal as 150K passive.
If you keep the Honda Jazz, bro, you probably need the 150. You're going to change the goals on the car. You're going to upgrade the car.
I'm not a car guy, so the car doesn't do it for me as much as...
It's because you're a Man United fan.
There's a few other experiences I need to do at the moment, so we'll go through those shortly.
All right, mate. Okay, so goals of portfolio, the initial goal, intermediate goal, which we love to work around, is intermediate goals rather than end goals, because the intermediate goal is something very tangible that you can typically hit on existing income. So you're chasing 150K passive on that. Man, I'd love to know, there's two things here, kind of almost like a two-part question. Like your key takeaways, even from like looking back on your journey, even like discussing it here today as well, like your key takeaways from your journey to date. And if you could tell your younger self something as well, or like the younger generation coming through, anything in particular you could kind of tell them, whether you want to answer that in one or whether you want to break them up.
That's an interesting one, because I mean, I had an opportunity when I was sort of 2021 to get into my first property, and without sort of that, what Jimmy calls as the circle of influence, I didn't have that at that age. So I never pulled that trigger. I didn't understand. I didn't have the knowledge behind it. Had I have done something then, sure, things might have been quite different for me. But then I look back, I don't have any regrets.
Yeah.
I lived my 20s. I went traveling, did all the things that I wanted to do at that point.
Yep.
I think it allowed me now in my 30s to really focus on what I really wanted to do.
Yep.
I haven't sort of, tried to find the next best thing, as we sort of know, and try to find the next best shiny thing. Like I've just stuck to the plan, just grinding it out. The purpose, the idea, the strategy was very clear for me.
Can I tell you something as well?
Yeah.
It's a funny thing, man, because when I was 19, I had the same conversation with my old boy, but I never had the instinct to want to go overseas and do a lot of traveling. But at 19, my old boy said the same thing to me. I'd saved about 30 grand or something at the time. And he kind of, I was looking to buy cars. You'd know the story. I was maybe not even 30 grand because I had government grants for my first place, 25 grand, something like that. And I had the choice of either buy a car or I got, the gentle push towards why don't you look at buying a house instead. And, man, that was probably the extent of how much advice I got from my family or like encouragement towards doing it, but it was enough to put my mind on that and to think about it and then to go and do it. But the funny thing and kind of like where I'm going with this story is I have a lot of mates and there's a lot of people that go, man, I wish I did what you did. And I wish I'd started when I was 19, 20, 21. Like you're saying here, your trajectory could have been a lot different. And I remember I looked back in my late 20s and they'd say it to me and then I'd go, yeah, mate, I wish I'd done what you did, because the amount of experiences, you've had, and been out there and done and traveled and all the rest of this sort of thing. I hustled for 7-8 years and didn't travel. And at the back end of it, I won Investor of the Year. You know what I mean? Like I did really, really well at the back of it. And I'm super humble. I'm like proud of the whole thing as well. And humbled by the thing and very proud of what I achieved from it. And ultimately, I don't have any regrets. But I look back and you still go, fuck, I wish I'd probably traveled a bit more when I was younger. But then I look at the position I'm in now and it's like, I bought a Ferrari at 33. I could have bought it at 31, 32. Yep. Again, a bit of delayed gratification, but bought a Ferrari in cash at 33. I've done some intelligent things in my life to kind of get there. But I think it's one of those things, a lot of people think, and this is where I'm going the whole way around here to get to the point of what I'm talking about here is it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you've done, where you're starting from, how old you are, how young you are. You can start at any point. And if you were young and you wanted to do something mad, because if you could go back and do one thing in your situation, you go back and buy one property in Sydney at that time and something that's taking care of itself and you could have bought it at, where you live, 250, 300 grand, renting for 350, 400 bucks a week, it would have taken care of itself. You would have come back, the thing would have doubled and it would have been a really cool starting point. But maybe that's where someone starts in their 20s, but it doesn't mean if there's other things or experiences you want to do, you don't need to put those things on the back burner. But I think it's, the moral of the story or where I'm trying to get at with this thing is it's just like, you are where you are. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. It's where you take yourself to and where you go. Because, anyone can start from anywhere. And we have clients come through that have lost everything and they're restarting. They're coming with 50, 60 grand and we're rebuilding it from the bottom. But they're having a crack and they're having a go and they're really having a good long go at this thing. And I love it, man. And that's why I look at you and I know you've said to me before, I wish I'd got into it earlier. But at the same time, I'm happy with where I am and I can see the trajectory that I'm now on. And yeah, man, I love it. I love the positivity and the energy that you've always got around this thing as well. So it's really cool, man. And I honestly, I really appreciate you sharing the journey on that thing. No,
thanks so much. Like I wouldn't have got to this stage right now without your guidance and help, the mentorship essentially. So
it's been a pleasure, mate. Yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure. Man, just to round out, 2 final things for me that were like probably key takeaways from your journey as well. There's a lot of stuff there to unpack, but I think like the 2 key things for me was like that work ethic being bred into you extremely young by your father, by your old boy. Mate, I see it so often of the people who come through with that, and I was very much the same with my family. Man, you come out with a different work ethic. And I think like looking at it and knowing how you work now, but yeah, man, coming out and hearing that in your story as well, it says a lot of things. You know what I mean? It answers a lot of questions, from that side of things, knowing that that's part of your backstory as well, which is awesome to see, man. And I think like, it's a funny thing. I speak about this with Morgs a little bit. We throw the idea around of obviously kids one day, and she's asked me before, what are you going to do about the fact that like, you're pretty wealthy. You've got a Ferrari. You're like, you're doing well with yourself. And I say to them like, my kids are going to have a similar upbringing to me. Like they're going to be working hard. They're going to be working young. You know what I mean? Because I want them I want them to respect money and I want them to have respect in general. And I always find people who come from that background are very, very different from those who don't. There's nothing against those who aren't, but that's where I kind of see that really kind of coming in from that side. And that's where I see a lot of people really successful who don't make it so much in a professional world or a book smart world sort of thing. That's where they can succeed in other things because they've got that mental fortitude, you know what I mean? That mental strength on that side as well. So I love that side of things, man. The other thing was, it kind of works in with the work ethic, but you just kept pushing hard. You know what I mean? Like you had to go out there, you had to get a second job. It literally is the work ethic side of things again. But that's where I just see this vein that kind of kept going with it as well, that you kept pushing hard, man. You kept doing everything you could. You went and got a second job. You went and you hustled as hard as you could to get all these things together just to keep going. You did what it took to keep going. You see people, they sit in the sidelines. I don't have enough money for it. I don't have the serviceability. They don't go get the second job. They don't go do those extra things that'll get them into that second deal sooner, and then they lose momentum. And and then it falls apart. Maybe they end up with 1-2 deals or something. So, man, I think it all falls into that same nutshell experience of the work ethic side of things and pushing hard and just continuing, man, not letting things batter you. And yeah, man, kind of like you're saying now, being laser focused on this stuff as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree.
Mate,
that's what shaped me.
I love it. I appreciate you sharing your journey.
Thank you, Sammy. It's been an honor.
Mate, the honor is all mine. I have a request from the guests. It went off last time on the Investor Stories. People loved it. They loved the music. There was a shout out to the producer for the music. They said the questions could be better. But, mate, we're going to move into rapid fire. Are you happy to join me on this?
Let's go. Rapid fire away.
Let's go, mate. Let's go. The tunes are on. Mate, the biggest goal that you're chasing.
Biggest goal, be happy forever. Simple.
Wow. Okay, mate.
Yeah.
Dream primary residence. What is it and where?
It's a house down in the northern suburbs of Wollongong on the beach, overlooking the escarpment, and I've got my little granny flat with my mum back there.
Oh, mate, you're an absolute gentleman. Dream holiday location.
Sicily, Tuscany in Italy.
Woo! All right, mate. Dream job.
Dream job, I've got it, Sammy.
There we go. Give us a fist bump. Love ya. Favorite food?
Italian, all things Italian, although my Polish background. Have you ever tried pierogies?
I have. They're good.
Oh, those
they're
Polish
good.
dumplings.
Mate, they're
Yes.
good. Favorite alcoholic beverage?
New England IPA.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that one ready to go. True. You guys smashed that at the station or what?
Sammy, I wouldn't
Moving
do that.
on. True or false? You were once Mr. August in the New South Wales fiery calendar.
According to who? Have you got one in the back of your bathroom?
I can hear that it's true, and mate, that's a dirty mind. Is it true you started CrossFit to get into the calendar?
That is true, folks.
So there you go, guys. He's actually been in it twice. Is it true that you are better than Big Lukey Chusen as an APS strategist?
Ooh, that's debatable, but why not? True.
Hey, there we go. Is it true, just to throw Lukey under the bus one more time, that you have a higher IQ than Big Lukey Chusen?
Absolutely true. I've got 2.5 degrees.
There we go. He's got 2.5. Lukey, shove that up it, mate. All right, mate. Final thing. Tell us something that most people wouldn't know about you.
I'm becoming a dad for the first time this year.
Polly! Yes, mate. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
we go,
So
mate.
that's going to be massive for me and my partner, Georgia. So
Hats off to you both, mate. Hats off to you both.
Thank you. We're both very excited. So
Mate, what a way to finish. What an absolute way to finish. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I've loved having you in the studio. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. Mate, any final things you want to throw out there?
look, I just want to say everyone's got their own start point. You know, don't compare to anybody else. Like I thought for a long time, being, you know, mid-30s, living at home with mum with nothing, you can always change it around.
Yep.
There's always an opportunity.
Beautiful, mate. I love it. I love it. Wise words from a wise man and probably the nicest person in general. I was going to say bloke, but you're probably the nicest person in APS, mate. Thank you very much once again for jumping on. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I definitely loved it. It was a cracker. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you send this thing on to anyone you think could take some great value out of this episode. Maybe they'll relate to it. Maybe it'll inspire them. Anyone you think could take that value, make sure you send it on. If you aren't a subscriber yet, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, but you love these investor stories, hit the subscribe button. We want to know what you want to listen to, and hitting it on these episodes, it really sinks in what you guys love. So make sure you do. If you haven't left us a 5-star review yet, make sure you jump on there. You leave us a 5-star review. And as a final note, guys, if you are not booked in yet for the tickets for the APS Summit, the big Australian Property Scout Summit on the 13th of April in the Gold Coast, there aren't that many left. We're literally, I don't know what we are. We're like 4, 5, 6 weeks out now. I think we're 5 weeks out now, maybe 4 weeks from when this gets released. There aren't that many tickets, guys. Make sure you jump on there. You lock your tickets in if you want to come. There's inspiring stories. There's live potties. There's all your favorite APS roundtable members there. Make sure you get yourself there. And until next week, guys, it's another Scouting Australia podcast.